So I'm going to, since they're so generous with the time, I'm actually going to read you an entire chapbook, which is a 10-part poem that I published in 2007 after the death of one of my best friends. And it came about because a friend of his, a straight friend, was collecting writings to then present to Michael's mother. And this is what I wrote, and it got rejected. And I feel like there's this gay erasure that happens. And so since he was unsure about Michael's feelings towards Michael's queerness, that my writing wasn't a part of it, but also that's kind of ignoring a big part of Michael's life. And so then I thought, fuck you. So I'm going to make a chapbook out of this and distribute it more than that one book. So it's a book that's very dear to me and was kind of like an act of rebellion and mourning. 1. I retraced my steps, charting my friendship with him. I called that morning, got his voicemail, called our friend Heidi, who told me they talked last week. He told her he'd be coming to Connecticut in 2 weeks to visit. 4 hours later, George tracked down my LA number, called me with the news that Michael had been in a coma for a week and had died a few hours earlier. I rushed out of work, called Heidi, drove home crying, hardly able to see the road. Tears hit my shirt. I looked at the round water spots on it, how the blue fabric darkens, and remembered the shirt was Michael's. 2. I left a message for him 11 days earlier. When he didn't call back or leave a text message calling me a rock star, lover, or sexy, I got a bit concerned. Sent him an email. Upon rereading it, I'm relieved the ending was especially sweet. Hope you're shining and doing well. I'm sure you're excelling at whatever you're doing. Let's connect soon, sexy. He collapsed in his kitchen 30 hours after I hit send. 3. I thought of the talks we had and our time together. The fleeting nature of our interaction bothered me. I didn't seem to have enough Michael. I wanted to write everything down. In that moment, I wanted to devote my life to writing about him. I sifted through letters for ones written by Michael, looked through old photo albums for Michael's image, and went to my closet to touch the clothing Michael had shipped to me a month earlier. The skin products he gave me, I wanted to keep untouched, knowing even in my grief how ridiculous that was. 4. I called my cell service, had them tell me when was our last conversation. The total time spent talking, 84 minutes. I remembered I was tired, had a long to-do list ahead of me. So when the phone rang, I told myself I'd keep it brief. It wasn't. And I'm glad I let go of that. I remember what we talked about, but can't remember what was on that to-do list. 5. During that last conversation, we talked randomly about Anderson Cooper. Michael said he was looking forward to having all gray hair, how he liked his sparkling of salt and pepper, but couldn't wait for a full head of silver. I said, "You have time." He didn't. 6. George told me Tressa saw him a week earlier. I was envious before remembering that in November I had seen him, that the past November was the last time I saw him. I flew up to New York for my 30th birthday. I met up with Michael 20 minutes after my arrival. We ate at a cafe in Union Square. He met me at a bar later. We said goodbye that night. My flight left 42 hours later. 7. A Saturday night 5 years earlier, Michael and I leave Covivant Gallery. On the way home, on a whim, we stop at the Harbor Club, an all-black gay club. The doorman rude and the cover too high. We turn around at the door. We walk to the back of the building, climb up a dilapidated deck and fire escape. I push open a window. Smoke and music pour out. I jump in first. Michael follows my lead. Inside, we are without the doorman-issued armbands or the skin color of the other patrons. We go to the bar, order shots, make a toast, get another drink. I'm wearing a shirt I bought from him at If and Only If. A large tiger on the front, and on the shoulder, in small text, it reads, "The greatest show on earth." I feel out of place, get a bit nervous. A large woman in hot pants and tight shirt grabs Michael's shoulder, tells him how much she loves his hair. He tells her he loves her style too. They hit it off. We all hit the dance floor. Michael dances with slightly bent knees, his two hands palm forward in the air, feeling the beat, almost like a mime might feel an invisible box. His eyes closed, head nodding, hands moving, feet shuffling. His dancing was the greatest show on earth. 8. After Michael's death, I ran a search of emails he sent me. His last email was from May 31st, sent at 11:58 a.m. Since his move out of Florida and then mine, we were phone friends, not email correspondents. But he was responding to a late-night message I sent shortly after my arrival to LA. I wrote how I was thinking of him, felt a bit lost, lonely, unstylish, and poor. I also said how I admired how he sees himself as the CEO of himself. He wrote back, "Okay, beautiful man. 1, if money can fix it, it ain't a problem. So stop. I know what you're saying, but when I stick by that, I feel less pressured. The things that make me feel good do not involve money. One thing that makes me feel good, Stephen Rains thinking of me, makes me feel really good. 2, Stephen Rains letting me know he's thinking of me. 3, Stephen Rains. Wow, all free. I know new shoes, nice clothes, fancy jewels make our egos feel good, but true love for someone has no price. As for the CEO of your life, remember, love yourself. Loving yourself is the best investment. Take a walk with yourself, kiss yourself, read to yourself, have your way with yourself, love yourself, because I love you in so many ways. You truly make it so easy. Much love always, Michelangelo." 9. Michael was at one of my last major public events in Tampa. He happened to be in town, walked into the library late, just in time to hear me read. He was one of the first I greeted after leaving the podium. I hadn't seen him in months. He was wearing a horizontal striped, multicolored shirt. I hugged him, remembered his smell of cologne, fabric softener, and hair products. That shirt was in the box of clothing he shipped me. 10. Retracing letters, phone calls, mementos of him tired me after a while. They were not replacements for Michael. Then I remembered the last time I saw him. It wasn't when we said goodbye at the bar on my birthday. It was the day before I was leaving. I wandered around the West End looking for a famous bookstore, frustrated at being lost. I pass by a restaurant with large windows and see Michael dining there. I assume his companion is the man he told me of earlier. I wanted to rush up to the glass, knock on it, push my lips against it, and blow. A grotesque adolescent gesture I think he'd find funny. Instead, I notice his phone on the table. Call him from the street on my cell. He answers. I tell him, "Look out the window." He laughs and says, "Get in here, young man." I come in, nervous. I've interrupted the date. We talk for a bit. Michael invites me to sit. I decline. I don't want to overstay or interrupt. We talk about the food, the coincidence, my flight back. We said we'll talk soon, and I don't know how we said goodbye. I know I shook his date's hand goodbye. Did I lean down to peck Michael on the cheek, or hold his hand for a moment after I shook his date's hand, or did he spring up from the table and hug me goodbye?